David Muir, ABC's World News Tonight, America's most watched newscast. Now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney+. Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney+ every night.
Tonight, several breaking stories as we come on the air here. The war with Iran, gas prices, and is Iran planning to put mines where tankers carry much of the world's oil? President Trump tonight at his new threat. Also breaking outside Philadelphia, what the FBI found in a storage facility after that attempted attack in New York City. And more than 100 million Americans under alerts right now as we come on the air for severe storms. Tonight, after the president said the war is, quote, very complete, pretty much. Tonight, the U.S. unleashing a massive air assault on Iranian targets. Central Command now targeting Iranian ships. Amid reports, Iran is planning to lay mines in the Strait of Hormuz amid global oil volatility. And tonight, the White House now revealing 140 American service members have been wounded since the war began. And for the first time, we hear from a sergeant who survived that Iranian drone attack, the husband and father from his hospital bed at Walter Reed. Also breaking outside Philadelphia tonight, what the FBI found in a storage unit after the attempted attack at the mayor's residence in New York City. Tonight, more than 100 million Americans under alerts right now. Severe storms, tornado watches as we come on. From the Great Lakes down to Texas, then moving into the Northeast. Ginger is here. Tonight, the deadly home explosion in the Northeast. Firefighters pulling a body from the debris. You will hear the audio tonight, the chaotic moments as a female suspect shoots up Rihanna's home. Authorities say with an AR-15 style rifle. The Jeffrey Epstein case tonight, why authorities are now searching a ranch in New Mexico and what they're looking for. The images coming in at this hour, lava shooting into the air in Hawaii, ash raining down tonight. Also, the massive fire on the water, a barge consumed by smoke and flames. The emergency landing on a busy road, a 19-year-old pilot at the controls. In New York City, the Dolphins spotted in the East River. And take a close look at this tonight. An antique store in upstate New York, the stunning discovery. Something on that shelf, not for sale.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. We begin tonight with the war in Iran. President Trump suggesting 24 hours ago that some might consider the war pretty well complete. Tonight, the Pentagon now saying today was the most intense day of strikes since the war began. The Pentagon releasing new video tonight showing the U.S. unleashing massive air attacks on Iranian targets. U.S. Central Command now targeting Iranian boats as well. Following reports, Iran is planning to lay mines right in the Strait of Hormuz, right where oil tankers carry 20% of the world's oil, amid the global oil volatility already and rising gas prices here at home. And tonight, the White House now revealing at least 140 American service members have been wounded in this war so far. At least 7 American lives lost. And tonight, right here, the interview. The American sergeant describing the incoming Iranian drone that he survived. His fellow service member just 5 feet away did not. Here's our chief foreign correspondent, Pannell, leading us off from the region again tonight.
Tonight, the Pentagon saying today would be the most intense day of the war so far, amid serious questions over the shifting timelines. 24 hours ago, President Trump said of the war, quote, it's very complete, pretty much. Later adding, it's pretty well complete. The president making those comments amid extreme volatility in the oil markets. But tonight, it's very clear this war is raging on.
We will not relent until the enemy is totally and decisively defeated. But we do so on our timeline and at our choosing.
Late today, amid reports Iran's now planning to lay mines in the Strait of Hormuz, where tankers carry 20% of the world's oil, the US now saying it's eliminated 16 mine-laying vessels. The president warning Iran the military consequences of mining the strait will be at a level never seen before. President Trump fully aware the war on Iran has led to shock over skyrocketing oil prices globally and gas prices in the US.
The U.S. military is drawing up additional options following the president's directive to continue keeping the Strait of Hormuz open. I will not broadcast what those options look like, but just know the president is not afraid to use them.
But tonight, Iran issuing a direct threat to the president, saying, be careful not to get eliminated yourself. And today, confusion over whether the U.S. Navy had escorted a ship through the dangerous strait. A post with video from Energy Secretary Chris Wright said the US Navy successfully escorted an oil tanker through the Strait of Hormuz. But then, about 30 minutes later, that social media post was deleted. The department blaming staff for a, quote, incorrect caption. The White House says it never happened. And tonight, the human toll on American service members and their families. The Pentagon now confirming at least 140 American service members have been injured so far in this war. 8 severely wounded. ABC News learning new details about the Iranian drone strike that killed 6 US soldiers in Kuwait. The soldiers there had taken shelter in a bunker as air defense systems intercepted a wave of Iranian drones. But moments after the all-clear was given to return to their work building, a drone slamming into the structure. And for the first time tonight, we're hearing from one of the surviving soldiers inside that building. Minnesota Army Sergeant First Class Corey Hicks.
I remember hearing a buzzing noise that got louder and louder, like really quickly.
Hicks describing the harrowing moments before that deadly drone came crashing in.
I remember turning my head to the left and I seen the nose of that drone pop through. And as soon as it did, I knew what it was. It was either a missile or a drone. So I turned to my right, and that's when it blew up and just blew the whole building apart.
The married father with young children of his own recovering from serious shrapnel injuries and a severed spleen, speaking to ABC affiliate KSTP from his hospital bed at Walter Reed, remembering one of the service members who did not survive, Master Sergeant Nicole Amore.
She was literally 5 feet from me when that happened. When I looked over my left shoulder, the drone impacted basically right above her. She was just the kindest woman ever. She was very caring and willing to go the extra mile for you.
And as this war takes a toll on service members, with no clear timeline set, influential podcaster Joe Rogan questioning why we're in the war in the first place.
It just seems so insane based on what he ran on. I mean, this is why a lot of people feel betrayed, right? He ran on no more wars and these stupid, senseless wars, and then we have one that we can't even really clearly define why we did it.
David, President Trump calling Iran's new supreme leader unacceptable. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu tonight calling for regime change, telling the Iranian people be ready to seize the moment. David.
Ian Pannell leading us off from Tel Aviv tonight. Ian, thank you. Now to an alarming scene unfolding outside the U.S. consulate in Toronto. Police searching for 2 suspects who opened fire on the building. Authorities say the suspects drove by. They got out of an SUV, both firing multiple shots from a handgun. At least 2 bullets reportedly hitting a glass door at the main entrance. Police tonight asking any witnesses to come forward. Now to Philadelphia tonight, there are breaking developments. What the FBI found outside Philly at a storage unit. It comes after 2 suspects were arrested after that attempted attack outside the mayor's residence in New York City. Police say they wanted that attack to be bigger than the Boston Marathon attack. And what's now been found in that storage unit. Here's Aaron Katersky tonight.
This is the moment the FBI blew up suspicious items found at a storage unit outside Philadelphia. Investigators say they contained explosive residue and were linked to the 2 teens charged with attempting to carry out an ISIS-inspired attack in New York. One of the teens seen here hurling a homemade bomb that tested positive for the explosive TATP. Police say a second device the teen ignited before running down the sidewalk and leaping over a police barrier was also a potentially viable explosive.
We were fortunate that the devices used this weekend did not cause the kind of harm that they were certainly capable of causing.
Federal prosecutors say the teens made statements referring to ISIS, and when an investigator asked one of them if he wanted to accomplish something like the Boston Marathon bombing, he replied, no, even bigger. It was only 3 deaths.
How worrying is it that a couple of guys from Bucks County can just drive into Manhattan with potentially viable devices?
Some individuals will mobilize to violence without tripping the wires that we extensively set.
The attempted attack left the NYPD on edge. Today, the bomb squad spent more than an hour investigating a suspicious item near the mayor's residence.
That item turned out to be harmless, David, but the NYPD is taking no chances. The 2 teens are being held tonight on a terrorism charge. David.
Aaron Katersky, who continues to follow this. Aaron, thank you. Tonight, more than 100 million Americans under alerts as we're on the air right now. Severe storms, tornado watches from the Great Lakes all the way down to Texas. And then this system moves into the Northeast. So let's get right back to Chief Meteorologist Ginger Zee back with us tonight. Hi, Ginger.
Hi, David. We've already seen tornado warnings popping from Texas to Illinois. And now, just seconds ago, we got a new severe thunderstorm watch that includes Chicago and Milwaukee over into West Michigan. So let's go ahead and look at that. The tornado watch is still up for parts of Iowa, northeastern Missouri, through Illinois, Peoria included, into northwest Indiana. And this all happens tonight. It's actually just getting going. Those first cells were just the appetizer to what will be an unfortunate main meal that could have tornadoes, baseball-sized hail, and damaging wind all the way through the overnight hours into southwest Michigan. Then you go down to Texas, you already have a very active radar there too. There was a confirmed tornado just south and east of Abilene. We're watching that and many other cells as this progresses east, and we've got those watches all the way up through Oklahoma and Kansas. By tonight, Dallas to Waco to Austin, even into the overnight hours, could be messy. Also want to mention tomorrow it's Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., back to Shreveport for damaging wind. David.
24 hours here of severe weather. Ginger, thanks. We'll see you in the morning. Now to the deadly home explosion in Connecticut. The entire neighborhood rocked, firefighters pulling a body from the debris. Here's Stephanie Ramos.
Tonight, authorities outside Hartford, Connecticut, investigating after this home exploded in Bloomfield overnight, killing at least one person inside. The calls for help coming just after 6 p.m.
I got a house that exploded. We have a victim trapped in the basement.
Debris was flying all around, and I had to physically run.
Paulette Lawrence was walking right across the street from the home when it exploded.
I heard a loud boom, and then instantly the house just was in flames. Everything, like a demolition crew was here, and the house just almost vanished.
Firefighters recovering a body from the flattened home around 1 a.m. Lawrence says neighbors had been complaining about the smell of gas recently.
I have a plumber coming later to check my leak because we're all on the same natural gas pipeline, and so I'm very concerned.
Police say no foul play is suspected. State and local fire marshals are now investigating. David.
Stephanie Ramos with us here tonight. Steph, thank you. We turn now to the Jeffrey Epstein case. Authorities are now searching a ranch in New Mexico once owned by Epstein on the scene today. Here's Pierre Thomas.
3 decades after Jeffrey Epstein allegedly sexually assaulted underage girls at his New Mexico ranch, state investigators are searching the sprawling property, hunting for evidence.
This investigation is a crucial piece of trying to understand what happened at the ranch.
New Mexico authorities reopened their investigation after the release of the Epstein files, which include unsubstantiated allegations of murder and bodies buried on the ranch. The ranch was apparently never searched despite allegations by several women that they were abused by Epstein there when they were minors. Annie Farmer was 16 when she says Epstein assaulted her on the ranch in 1996.
I was sleeping in a small room. I was in my pajamas under the covers, and he just sort of bounded in and said, "Oh, I'd like to cuddle." Of course, he wasn't actually asking, wasn't waiting for me to agree to that.
That summer of '96, Annie's sister Maria reported allegations of Epstein's sex abuse and child pornography to the FBI. But she says her tip was ignored and nothing was done for years. After hearing about the new search, family and supporters of Epstein's victims made the journey this week to Zorro Ranch. Among them, the brother of Epstein accuser Virginia Giuffre, who died by suicide last year.
Standing here at Zorro Ranch, a place represents such trauma and nightmares for my sister and so many other survivors is harder than I ever imagined.
While state officials in New Mexico have reopened their investigation, sources tell us that DOJ has not launched any new expanded investigation regarding Epstein. David?
Pierre Thomas with us here tonight. Pierre, thank you. Tonight, the audio of the chaotic moments when a female suspect allegedly fired an AR-15 style rifle right into singer Rihanna's home. The singer was home at the time. Tonight, that suspect has now been charged with attempted murder. Here's Trevor Ault.
Tonight, a portrait of the chaos that unfolded outside the home of music superstar and billionaire businesswoman Rihanna, as police say 35-year-old Ivana Ortiz allegedly fired 10 shots from an AR-style rifle before fleeing the area.
Shooting just occurred. EPR believes the shots came from across the street of the upper gate.
Sources familiar with the investigation say Rihanna was home at the time of the incident. Officers tracking the suspect down to a mall parking garage 8 miles away.
They have the vehicle. Driver is out on his knees,
They're approaching the vehicle now.
Bullet holes seen strewn across the home's front gate. At least 2 other houses on the street were also hit. ABC News has obtained these mugshots of Ivana Ortiz stemming from a 2023 domestic violence allegation in Florida. Investigators are now combing through her social media accounts, where in recent weeks she appears to have made multiple bizarre references to Rihanna.
You saw Rihanna? You saw her picture?
David, Rihanna has not yet commented publicly on this incident, but the suspect, Ivana Ortiz, has now been charged with more than a dozen counts, including 1 count of attempted murder. David.
Trevor Ault in Los Angeles tonight. Trevor, thank you. A lot more news ahead. When we come back, there's been an emergency landing on a busy roadway. Also, look at this, a massive fire on the water, a barge consumed by smoke and flames. The images just in tonight, lava shooting into the air in Hawaii, ash raining down. The driverless taxi stopping just short of the train tracks right there. What the company's saying about this tonight. And take a close look at this. This is an antique store in upstate New York. The stunning discovery tonight, something on that shelf. Let's just say it's not for sale. Tonight, the images just coming in, chunks of rocks and ash exploding into the air, a powerful eruption at Hawaii's very active Kilauea volcano. Volcanic plumes 25,000 feet up, winds carrying large pieces of ash northward. Some of that debris the size of footballs landing on roads below. A massive fire tonight erupting on a barge in the Delaware Bay, smoke rising from the unmanned barge at Newcastle. Flames burning through mounds of scrap metal. Fire crews positioned on nearby boats now for hours trying to battle this. One of those driverless taxis coming dangerously close to train tracks in Texas. Take a look. A driver capturing the empty Waymo vehicle across the lowered gates at a rail crossing in Austin. A train passing by just inches away there. Waymo reacting to the close call tonight, saying in a statement they are temporarily restricting Waymo cars from similar rail crossings while they conduct a full review. When we come back here tonight, the stunning discovery at an antique store in upstate New York. What was on that shelf looking back? Also, the Dolphins spotted in New York City. And the emergency landing tonight on a very busy road. A 19-year-old pilot at the controls. We'll be right back. To the index of other news tonight, a small plane making an emergency landing in traffic. A driver witnessing the plane touching down, steering through the westbound lanes. This is in Jupiter, Florida. The pilot, reportedly a 19-year-old, landing safely and avoiding any cars, just driving home. Tonight in New York City, the dolphins in the East River, pods of dolphins spotted splashing around the river. The dolphins putting on quite a show not far from Randall's Island. The sighting happening on the first 70-degree day in New York City since October. We're just as excited. In upstate New York tonight, quite a find at one antique store. Look closely here. On the left, a cookie jar shaped like a chicken. On the right, well, that's a real owl. Snuggled up, taking a nap at this shop in East Durham. Store employees telling us they called in an environmental officer who gently cradled the sleepy owl, releasing it back into the woods. That is quite something. When we come back here tonight, the restaurant and a promise on the wall of free oysters. The promise made decades ago. The sign on the wall, but one key requirement on it. So the family that showed up decades later to get their free oysters. Did it work? In a moment. Finally tonight here, America Strong, the restaurant with a sign on the wall. It's been getting attention for years. Free oysters, but there was one requirement. Tonight in Mobile, Alabama, the promise on a sign at a popular restaurant. It's been up on the wall for nearly 40 years now.
Hi, David.
The team at Winsel's Oyster House welcoming us inside.
Welcome to Winsel's Oyster House in Mobile, Alabama, where oysters is our middle name.
Showing us there are many signs decorating the walls, but there's one sign that always gets a lot of attention. It says free oysters to any man 80 years old, accompanied by his father. The Rush family always got a kick out of that sign. Dad Jim and his sons Jimmy and Carl. They've been coming here since the 1970s. In fact, there's the restaurant logo circled right behind them in that old video. That sign for free oysters intrigued the family for decades. They thought maybe one day they'd be able to show up and get their free oysters. Remember what the sign says, any man 80 years old accompanied by his father. Well, son Jimmy is now 80. His father healthy at 99, and they return to that restaurant to get their free oysters. And right here tonight.
Good evening, David. Good evening, David.
Father and son, Jim and Jimmy Rush, and their free oysters.
Every year we ask them about the sign, and they tell us every year we're waiting on us to come in. So it finally happened. We had oysters, we had for everybody there, and we really had a good time. We finally did it. We had a great party. I don't think I could have had a better 80th birthday.
Making good on that promise, and your dad looks pretty good at 99. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
David Muir, the most trusted anchor in America, the most watched anchor in America. Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir the #1 newscast in America.